like Gordon said, I like to be in my studio alone, editing. Thank you for inviting me, and I'll do my best to keep you entertained and answer any questions you have. A bit about myself. I moved in from Mexico 2010. I went to BFS, class 47, and stayed. Back in Mexico, I used to work mostly on commercials and a couple TV shows, but mostly advertising, which is like a very different industry than film, and I guess video games as well. It's a lot of pressure and weird clients, weird deadlines, and yeah, people that think they're Steven Spielberg doing a soap commercial. So I learned a lot about dealing with these kind of people. Because like you have to make a soap commercial entertaining, plus the client has to love it. And there's like 20 people approving it. So at the beginning it was tough because you don't know how to talk to these people and deal with them without being harsh or an asshole. And it's just like choosing your battles and knowing when to just do it because let's move on and whatever, and when to like actually like be like, no man, let's just hold on for a second, let me do this, and then I'll show it to you, and then it might work, it might not. So yeah, that's the weird side of the clients. It's a lot of money involved in terms of like needs to sell, and all that stuff. So what I noticed when I moved here, and I right out of BFS, I started freelancing. I have never worked here at a studio or anything. I went straight freelancing, like starting on Craigslist and getting clients that are now still my clients and stuff like that, like building relationships. And what I noticed with film is that it's a very different treatment, like film and TV. Hi. Come in. You're late. Oh, I don't think you can come in. Yeah, I think it's stuck.
I couldn't figure out how to work it. No.
So with film, with directors, producers, and anyone involved in a film, I find I respect these people a lot because they're like very weird characters as well. But they have been developing this baby or film or project, whatever, so hard, like for years even. And then they get to your sound is the last part of it kind of thing. And they basically get there burnt already. Like they've been dealing with production, post-production, and like it's basically color correction and us are the ones that wrap up the show. And yeah, and they're still hanging in there, and they have like pretty cool ideas. So I've seen a lot of people having the attitude of like trying to teach producers and directors like, no, like this is not, sound is half of the experience. And like, well, it kind of is, but not in a budget kind of way and in a time kind of way. And a lot of people confuse that. And I think that, when you're dealing with directors and producers, these people are artists as well. And I think they deserve a bit more respect. And whatever you say to them, you're not going to teach them anything. So might as well just go with the ride and do your best to like meet their expectations and their ideas, and also like pick your battles and be like, you can also be like, this doesn't work at all. You can be honest with them, but yes, it's not like sound is over the rest of the movie. It's not even half of it. And yeah, so that's that's my main approach with sound. And when I'm doing, when I get a whole project for myself, like I do everything, or I just hire, like I work with Miguel a lot, and we just take over a project, the two of us. It's like I feel that directors like that from freelance people, that whenever, I'm not pointing fingers or anything, but when you go to a huge studio, like a huge company, the people that are going to be doing the work are going to be getting information from someone else above them, which is the person who's going to have contact with the client or the director. Well, I think the directors and producers appreciate the freelance work because you're the guy that they talk to from the beginning, and you're the guy that delivers the last hard drive with the sound. And they appreciate that. And I think the film industry is kind of turning to that side a little bit, hopefully for me. And yeah, it's cool that all these huge studios, they have amazing staff and everything, but the little people are kind of growing, I feel. And yeah, that's a bit of how I'd like to treat my clients and talk to my clients. What else? Yeah, so after freelancing for a couple of years, I decided to put like a company, a studio, and it's like a small studio, but it has brought me like pretty cool projects. And I won a Leo last year, working with Eric Paul and Brody Ratsoy, Miguel, and that was fun. And we keep working together, and mostly feature films. So yeah, I wanted to show you guys like that kind of work, but we would need a 5.1 setup, and we have stereo, but I think I can show you some stuff here. But eventually, this group will get to the Van City Theater or something, and we can play it. Yeah, so mainly my work lately, or for the past years, has been short and feature films, TV shows, like documentary TV shows, and commercials here and there. But I love film, and yeah, that's what I like the most. Does anybody here like work film or like to work on film? Yeah, cool guys. We need more than you. Everybody's on video games right now, which is cool. Miguel and I recently finished a short film, and out of nowhere, the producer got me a call to have an interview with Mix Magazine, which was insane for me. It was just like a phone call, but the guy did a good job. And it's weird because this is the client relationship thing that I was saying. Because this short film, we had like, it was like a 10-minute short. We had like 4 days or something to edit it, and they were mixing it in New York. And they had like 90 minutes to mix a 10-minute short film, so they were screwed already. So the producer and director got to me, and they're like, "Hey, man, so you have like a week to edit a 10-minute show." I'm like, "Oh, that's perfect. That should be able. That's manageable." They're like, "Yeah, but they're only gonna mix it for an hour and a half, and that's all we get." So I'm like, "Fuck, man." Like that changes everything, because the way we edit it now, it was way different. Like Miguel had to actually clean the dialogue as if it was on a mix, basically, to be able to deliver something that they could just like play back and just like tweak it. And for sound effects, it was a weird thing where the other thing is that they were like, eventually we'll get a 5.1 stage to do it, but right now we only need stereo. But like, it's the other way around. I'll do the 5.1 and then I'll edit in 5.1 and then you can just mix it in stereo or whatever. So there's that thing as well. So what happened in that film was I didn't know the mixer and we didn't have too much contact. But I told him that I would, instead of delivering like a raw session, I basically delivered our premix session with stuff being processed already, like audio suiting, reverbs and stuff like that, which is stuff that you should probably don't do usually. But for this time constraint, like specs and BGs and even like some Foley and stuff like that, I was already putting reverbs on them because they had to focus on music and dialogue, which is the most important part of a film. and then the sound effects should be able to play alone together. So yeah, that happened, and it went okay. It was still a pain in the ass for the mixers, of course. And but it sounds good, and it was a good experience for me to do this kind of weird thing, like walk out of the box a little bit, and just deliver like a pre-mixed edit with effects already, and then reverbs, echoes, and all that stuff. So yeah, that's one of the things that you get as a freelancer, weird stuff that they don't teach you at school, and you have to figure it out. Yeah. So I think that's mostly, like, in conclusion, for like dealing with clients, directors, producers, is those guys know what they're doing. I mean, unless you get like a short from some guy that just picked up a camera, he doesn't know what he's doing. Especially when they're delivering OMFs. You can ask dialogue editors how good time they get. I don't deal with that, so I don't care. But yeah, it's insane how, like, the technical stuff is so hard to find someone that can do it properly. But yeah, like I said, these people, most of them know what they're doing. So it's not like being like you as a separate element. Like, sound is not a separate element. It's part of the rest of the film. So it's more like being part of the team kind of thing, and dealing with everything in the best way possible, especially if you're freelancing, because if they go out the door, that was your client that month. So that month you're not gonna eat, basically. And yeah, just get to know your director, because one single sound effect put wrongly could like get his mind out of the film. And like, I did this thing that I didn't notice, and it was, I put a speck of a dog barking, and they were having like a very intimate moment, and there's a fucking dog barking, and the director kind of got angry. He's like, why would you do that? And it's like, I had the guy truck off. I didn't listen to others. So it's like little stuff like that that you really have to talk to your director and meet them, and see what's the scope of the film that he wants to create, or she. Yeah, and to avoid that kind of stuff. So now moving on to the sound effects editor side of it, I feel that there's two ways to work. One of them is, if you're editing for like if you're doing the whole show, like editing and mixing, that's amazing, because you get to edit for yourself and you know what you're going to be mixing. You can basically mix as you edit, kind of thing. So in those cases, I say, like, I know we get taught at school and stuff like that, like, you need to give options, like layers and blah, 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 and frequencies and stuff. Which, yeah, it's true. But if you're doing a project by yourself, don't make yourself, like, your life more complicated. Like, if somebody's opening a door, put a door sound that works. Don't put, like, the doorknob and the squeak and the hand and the... If it's a door and you find a door, or you create a door that sounds fine, you don't have to have 20 layers for a door. Or like stuff like that. Like, get to know your library and record your own stuff. And there's nothing wrong with just, like, you missed like a hit in the keyboard for a Foley thing. Just go grab your phone, do it, and put it in, and stuff like that. Like, of course, if there's a dialogue line, don't record it with your iPhone and then put it in there, which has worked before, but don't do it. Yeah, so this takes me to knowing your library. And I know it's so expensive to buy start building a library. It's insanely expensive. But I understand why. It's a lot of work that they put into that. But when you start out of school, you cannot spend like $6,000 on sounds. So I guess you work with what you have to. A lot of us get that VFS library, but that's up to you if you want to use it. You don't own it, but but it's a good thing, because you learn how to, like, record stuff and start building your own library, like your signature sounds. And it's pretty cool when you notice, when you're using a door, that you recorded like at BFS or something like that. That still works. And yeah, like just every day, every film that I work on, I try to spend at least depends on the length and budget, but like at least a couple days recording stuff that I think they're gonna work, like, to make it a little bit unique. But once you have your own like library and get to know it, it's gonna save you hours and days. And yeah, it's the thing. Like, you know which door is gonna sound fine, and there's nothing wrong with using the same door in 10 films. If it's a door that the film is not about that door, you can just use it, or gunshots, or I don't know, man, like cars. I don't know. Yeah, and now the other side. So that's when you're editing for yourself, or someone that you really know, like that you're being part of the mix kind of thing, or the whole supervision of the film. That works. But the other side is when you're working for another mixer, a mixer you don't know maybe, or you're just doing the sound design and delivering to a bigger stage, and they're gonna mix it. That's when you spend more time, like putting together options and frequencies and layers and stuff like that, because you don't know that person. And it's pretty insane. Mixes are pretty insane, and I respect mixers a lot because they're just like going and going and going, and you cannot get to the point that they need a low-end hit and it's not there, or something like that. Because even though there's like fixed editors, when you're on the go, you kind of, and the one who's going to get blamed is you, the editor. So yeah, when you're working with someone else, if you don't know them, it's kind of hard to see their vision and stuff like that. Of course, you meet them and you have sessions and there's a supervisor and everything, but you're going to spend more time. And the other side is when you know your mixer. Like, for example, with Eric Paul and Brody Ratsoy, they mix like 4 shows now with them. And now we got to the point that it's kind of, I know what they like and what they don't like, but it took a couple of years to get there. So now it's pretty smooth, and yeah, it's just, think of when you're editing, you have to do the mixer's life easier in a way, because they have to deal with 20 things more than a bad sounding dog or something. So yeah, I feel that's the difference, the different jobs you get as an editor, like as a freelance and as a hired by someone kind of thing. And then brings me to a pretty cool gig that is being a fix editor on the mixing stage. I say it's pretty cool because you basically get all the glory for just fixing something, like a single sound or something, because let's say all the sound has been there, the director has seen so many interlocks, and there's always been this little thing that he wants that car that goes by to be squeaky. But it gets under all the notes, and there's priorities to that. But then they're just there, and he's like, oh man, I really wish that car was squeaking on the side. Just go put a squeak. He's like, oh, that made the film, basically. Like, okay, thank you. And it's a cool job also because you get to know the director and like complete the vision of the film, I guess. Because it's the stuff that he's really been stubborn about. And yeah, it's very simple. It's a stressful gig because you're on time and you're like sending stuff as you edit kind of thing. But yeah, it's very rewarding to be there, like hanging out. People applauding your work. Okay, yeah, here's one good one. When you start editing a show, usually they have a feel. They all have a feel, and it's building like a little library for that film or TV show or whatever. Like for a TV show, it's actually more common. But let's talk about film. What I do usually is like we take a week of the edit to just like experiment and stuff like that. Eric and I worked on a film called Air that it's out on iTunes if you want to watch it. It's a pretty cool film. It's a post-apocalyptic world underground. So it's basically these people living in this like silo. So right off the start, we knew that we would need a lot of huge atmospheres, like not room tones, but drones, natural drones, not synth or stuff like that. Specs that are like moving rocks around and stuff like that. So for a whole week, we were all over Vancouver getting into underground parkades and stuff like caves, stuff like that, and just recording. And that's the fun part of the job, because you just get out there and have a beer with your microphone in hand. And we found some pretty amazing places, like UBC and SFU are incredible. If you ever want to record Bee Gees or stuff like that, if you go to UBC or SFU, you can just walk in, like nobody is going to tell you anything, and just don't be pointing your mic at somebody's face. But just like if you're like subtle, like you can just be there. You all look like students too. We all do. And yeah, like we found this amazing parquet that is like 6 floors down, and the reverb was amazing, and we're dropping stuff on the top floor and getting the reverb of it downstairs. We did like impulse responses and all that kind of stuff. And that helped so much for the film, because instead of being the classic sound, like it was something that was morphing throughout the film. And yeah, like stuff like that chair moving upstairs and stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff you want to get. Because you pitch that down and it sounds like really cool. And we did a bunch of those, like metal moans and stuff like that. So yeah, that's amazing. You get to spend recording sounds. We recorded those like inflatable mattresses with contact mics and stuff like that, and it sounds amazing. And these are sounds that I'm gonna be using for the rest of my life, career, I guess. And that's the thing about building your library. You get all these sounds that it's like, yeah, I did that. It sounds pretty cool. So yeah, that's the cool part about working on bigger budget films. You get time to experiment. And that's where sometimes you have to rush your job. And that's my monkey sound. I did it earlier. I'm triggering everything through MIDI, through the TV.
The door closed again.
That's fine.
It's like really hard.
He's not going to chill out. He's just very anxious. He's been locked in there for like the whole week, so he's going nuts now. Thank you, monkey. I was getting stuck. I like a way of editing that is minimal, kind of thing, like simple, natural. In terms of like using little details that are not like overwhelming and stuff like that, like that chair that moved upstairs. We worked on a film that it was in location was Serbia, and they're like always in this weird, really old apartment, and no music or anything. So the specs on that show were insane, because Bee Gees, you can only do so much. Like you can do room tones and some CD outside maybe, but it's so boring when there's no dialogue. I mean, Foley helps a lot as well, but it's kind of it's trying to make stories that support the story, I guess. So for example, they're in this weird Serbian town, and it's late at night, and like you could always put a car going by, the classic car going by outside the window, but instead of that, put a little bit more thought to it and put somebody walking upstairs, dragging a chair and sitting down to eat, basically, or somebody flushing next door, or if you want to put stuff outside and you're going to put a cool car, like a or something, not like a or like a funny dog or something. So yeah, it's trying to support the story with little stories, kind of thing. I really like editing backgrounds and specs as well, because of the same thing, because they support the whole thing. But you get to do all these little things, little details that sometimes people notice, sometimes they don't. But it's pretty cool that a little thing can take somebody's attention of a situation or something like that, like a door closing or whatever, footsteps on the side or something like that. And yeah, that's pretty cool. Right now we're working on a film set in New York. And it's insane because New York is so loud. So the full dialogue track it's like this noise and this dialogue. So I'm mixing it. So I'm trying to get out all of that noise that Miguel kindly left there. But that's the thing. Like when I spoke to the director, he's like, "Don't take it out, leave it." I'm like, ugh. Like I can, yeah. But there's like the main line of the film. There's a truck going by, and there's no outs and stuff like that. So it's finding that balance. And basically, my BG edit is around the dialogue center track because I have to make everything louder now, so it matches. But that show is it's basically only BGs. And yeah, I've been doing a little bit of like wall and stuff like that, and that's putting it together. The first pass was awful. Like the first time I played back after editing, it was horrendous because it was library sounds, and New York has this very specific sound to it. And as we started like adding when we got the production folders, we were able to grab like more sounds and stuff like that from the shoot in that place. So that's helping a lot. So sometimes working with your dialogue editor it's not as bad. No, it's just very useful. You can get a lot of stuff from them. Yeah, but that's a simplify your work. Don't overthink it. Just feel what does not like listen. If you're sitting at home at night, spend 5 minutes like. Or right now, like you can hear like people out there and stuff like that. Just like a couple minutes, and then when you get to that situation on film, you can just remember what's going on and stuff like that. It sounds a bit artsy and I don't know. I would know the word in Spanish. I don't know how to say it. But yeah, it actually works. Like just sit down and listen for a bit. Yeah.
You're talking in the library, I'm not going to put a monkey in.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, the other thing is, when I get a film, I try to watch films that look like it. Not to steal ideas, but to try to figure out what directors and sound designers did for them. Like on that Serbian show, it's basically about a crime that happens and gets recorded through a recording. So everything gets recreated through the recording, like the conversation. It's not a ripoff as bad as it sounds, but it's the same idea. So I guess you guys have seen the conversation, right? Yeah, whole film. So what I found from that film, it was the amazing sound, because it's an old film, it sounds like if dialogue already sounds futzed, the futz on the futz, it's amazing. So we tried to recreate that, and it got to the point that it was so hard to edit because whatever you put under a futz, it gets lost. Like you get no low end, you get basically only mids. And at the beginning, we kind of knew that, but we didn't know it would be that bad. And we played back, and everything was gone, basically. So it was kind of designing sounds that would break through the futz, and it was a complete, like if you play that session with the futz off, it sounds awful. It's just like loud sounds that make no sense. But yeah, it was pretty cool because then watching that movie, The Conversation, and other films, and like actually getting like an old radio and putting sounds to it and seeing what worked and what didn't, that helped that film a lot. And I think at the end we managed to make it work. It was way harder than we thought. Kind of going back to like picking your battles with whoever you're working with is, I mean, there's stuff that that you can fight and be like, hey man, I think this is adding so much to the film, and you just don't like it because you like the temp better. And I mean, I understand that, but there are some times that you just can't. Like, you edit a whole scene that you spend weeks on it, and then the music comes in and basically everything goes away. It's like, oh, that sounded amazing. And now it has music, and the sound is just like the master goes like not even single ones, it's just the master that goes out. So that's a balance that you cannot fight, because you still have to do the work, because what if they don't like the music or something? But it's hard to get used to that, and it's very painful. But at the end, you watch the film and you're like, okay, he knows what he's doing. You're collaborating. It's not about your car chase. It's about the feel of the scene, kind of thing. Yeah, you guys have any questions now? How long have we been talking?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
like when it comes to simplifying, you're saying, you know, if you're cutting for yourself, you know, just cut a door, just cut a gun, whatever.
Yeah.
If you're not working for yourself, I know it does come down a lot to who's mixing for you, but let's say like the classic stuff like guns or doors, what's the most you would ever split it out?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. For guns, I think it depends on the style you're going for. Like, if you watch films like Rambo, it's gonna be basically this gun like this is gonna sound like a cannon.
Yeah.
But if you watch a movie like American Sniper, for example, the guns are very like slick, and they sound amazing, actually. So yeah, it's like you said, it depends on who you're working with. But I would definitely cover like the action of the gun, like the trigger and kind of like the metal action. Even though Foley might do something like that, but it's always nice to have it. High end and low end shot. I don't think that means too much for those. And yeah, like it's always nice to add like I went to a talk by the guys from the Lux, well, when it was the Lux, and when they were doing the sound for Rambo, I think, these guys said this tip that it's amazing and it works perfectly. It's basically you grab a Thunder and take the attack off and just put it after the gunshot. So it's like a reverb, but it sounds amazing. So kind of like with the attack of it. So that's a pretty cool trick. I love doing that kind of stuff. Like usually I would put like 10 gunshots and the last one has that thing. Or if it's like a machine gun or something. But yeah.
They cut the transient of the Thunder off?
Yeah, actually take out the transient of the Thunder and just leave the little low end dish tail. That's a pretty cool trick. It's not mine, just passing in on. Yeah, but that's the kind of like for doors, you want to have the door knob like the mechanism. It's always nice to have a little impact on the open, and the squeak, I guess. Yeah, nothing too complicated. I've seen sessions that they have like 4 tracks for the doorknob. I was like, oh, I wouldn't like to mix that. If you get there, you're like, oh, can you put the door down? It's like, that's not cool. But yeah, you do need to give options, kind of thing. Mm-hmm.
What kind of impact on the door are you talking about?
Like a little bit of a struggle, you know, like if there's always, I don't know how to say it, this sound that doors do. It's not like
Would it be Foley
like,
or something specific?
well, Foley can do it too. If you're working with the Foley people directly, just leave it to them. But I always like to put like a little, like on the open. I don't know. It adds to it something more than just the high end of the door now. I guess it's to create like a balance between the high end and the low end or something. Yeah, stuff like that. I guess I could show you a session. I did this short in like a day or something. And it was insane because it's like a fan-made Lara Croft film. And they had no budget. Oh, that's something I can talk about. Money. It comes along with the client. Actually, I thought I had that written down. No? Okay. Yeah, so a lot of times especially when you're starting, you're gonna get a lot of calls for freebies. And I feel that it's worse to undercharge than to do a free gig. Because when you undercharge, you're charging something that you took away from someone that was going to get paid. When you're doing a freebie, it's because the people have no money, basically. And I'm not saying always do it, but pick something that you, if you find something that you like and they have no money at all, or it's something that you think that might end up bringing so much more, something else, do it. But yeah, don't do everything for free either. Like there's a lot of shit out there, really bad shows, and plus they want for free, and it's like, no. But yeah, like the undercharging part, like I feel it's fair. Like even when you're out of school, like entry, like right out of school, like we all need to charge something, like a base price. It's not going to be a full day's rate of a mixer at Sharp, of course, but it should be something decent, and you've been working hard, and you kind of know what you're doing. Like you might not have the experience of doing something super fast and super awesome, but if they're going to give you less money than you think, at least ask for something back, like creative freedom or time. Or if they get there and they're like, yeah, do this, you cannot change anything, we need it tomorrow, and then we're going to pay you, and don't do that kind of stuff, because those people aren't grateful. And the people that don't pay are the ones that ask for more. So it gets to the point that it's just insane. But on the other hand, there's cool stuff out there and cool directors that have no money, like you. And I just did a freebie a couple of weeks ago because it was like a really cool film it was more like a favor because it's a producer that I've been working with and he's got me a lot of gigs. But see, that's the thing. Like he had this like project he did by himself. He's like, dude, I have no money. But then I saw on the other hand, like if I say no to this guy, like he's not gonna be like childish and be like, well, fuck you, and just leave. But you kind of facilitate his life on producing something else that might get you to the show and work on it, instead of him just like going around and it's a cool show. So yeah, pick the stuff. If you're doing something for free, make sure it's worth it. Yes.
How would you gauge or determine if a project is worth doing? If you're doing freebies and stuff after school, like how do you just talk to the director and seeing the film or whatever?
Well, one of the awesome one is if you get to see the film, which sometimes they have like rough cuts and stuff like that. You can see when a film is good or not. Yeah, that's the best option out there. Like if you get to see the film, you might think that it sounds like offensive. It's like I'd rather see the film before I say yes, but it's not. It's only fair to you to choose the job that you're doing for free. The other one is a script, but that one is like 50-50. Like you read the script and it's like, wow, man, this is gonna be amazing. And then they get the worst actor in the world. And the script is still good, but the actor just sucks. And you're stuck with it now. And it's a bad film because of one performance and stuff like that. So that's the other one. Like scripts are like 50-50. And talking to the people involved, it's pretty good. Like you can see who's just a mouth and who actually knows what they want. Like if you go to a meeting, get a coffee or something, and the director is like passionate and he's like talking about all these films that he likes and he's giving you references and ideas of stuff that he likes for his film. That's a good sign. That means that he knows at least what he wants and a bit of what he's doing, I guess. But you always ask. If you get a rough cut, you get a lot of ideas of how is it working. Yeah. Someone else?
All right.
Yes.
Can you talk a bit more about when you went with Eric to your recordings at UBC?
Yeah.
How was your process of tackling down and say, all right, let's go out and let's go to UBC, let's go to SFU. Did you guys have any kind of grocery list? Did you guys have any idea of what you want to get out of it? And you said it took about a week. Like, did you have budgeted a week? And did you budget the time? Did you have to edit all this whole week of recording, right? And
Yeah.
make choices. Can you talk a bit more about it?
Yeah. So here's the thing, like the sound effects side of films, I feel is a chill side. As of dialogue editors and dialogue mixers, they're like non-stop on the film. Like when they get the OMF, we basically get the picture as well. And we get to like watch the movie like, nice. And dialogue editors have to be dealing with video editors because they sent everything wrong. And I don't care about the OMF. If I get the guide tracks separated, like effects and dialogue on the other side, I'm okay with that. Which never happens actually, which is the other thing that I say. Like, just like pan it and send it, but yeah, apparently it's impossible. So yeah, like in the last 3 films I worked with Eric, like the first week we watched the movie like a couple times, took a bunch of notes, like ideas. Sometimes even when we get the script, we start like finding stuff that is gonna change the film. For example, this Serbian show, this show in Serbia, as soon as we heard that there was gonna be a car chase, we're like, yeah, those are gonna be shitty cars. Like, it's not gonna be a Mustang or anything. It's gonna be like those European, really old cars, like Fiat or whatever. So that was one of the things. We started looking for cars like that. Recording like a couple old cars. I guess, yeah, it's like a grocery list. We do like a spotting, and out of there we're like, okay, this is what stuff do we want to make sound amazing, and what stuff is just like editing kind of thing. And yeah, like I guess in terms of research of where to record and stuff like that, we just like winged it. Like, just went out and we're like, maybe UBC has something like this, and we went and they did have it. Like for Walla and like that kind of stuff for ambience, we just went to SFU at lunchtime and put a microphone there, and it was amazing. And sometimes you just go somewhere and it's like, it sounds like shit. There's like it looks like this amazing room, but there's like a AC unit that nobody turns off or stuff like that, or a guy playing phone games or something, and it screws up your whole thing. But yeah, I guess you plan ahead a bit, and then you get a lot of extras while you're there, I guess, yeah. Plus, I guess if you get like a pretty badass setup, like a nice recorder, microphone and stuff, would be easier. We have very ghetto setups, a couple of mics. Yeah, but it's the fun part of it. But yeah, it's kind of in the budget, but there is no line that says in the budget, recording week with Beto and Eric. We just did it. It made the edit way easier. Yeah.
So is that saying you kind of are building into the quote without it being in the quote, or is it just you just end up doing it?
We could just not do it. Like we could just like edit it, like of the stuff we already have, which would sound good. But like if you see your time frame, I mean, like that's the thing when you become like when you gain some experience, you get to know how much time you're gonna spend on something. So you can see a reel and be like, this reel has 3 main parts that are gonna need edit. That's gonna take me a week. This reel has blah, blah, blah. So then you can kind of know if you have 4 weeks to work on a film and you see that you can tackle everything in 3, then spend a week making those 3 weeks easier kind of thing. Because it's so hard, like, one of the scenes was like this vacuum sealed room that had like thick plastic, like looked like construction plastic, but there's like wind going through it. So the whole time it was like, and like we knew that Foley was gonna cover that in a way, but we didn't want it. Like we wanted like a very signature sound for that room. So that's one of the things we chose to record. Went bought like huge construction plastic stuff, like inflatable mattress, and yeah, that's the kind of stuff that you choose to record. Yeah. What was your question? But I answered it, right?
Oh, and like if you're kind of like, I know you said you don't put it on a quote, like I.
Oh yeah.
But like you're kind of evaluating that as you look at it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and it's something that, like I said, if you get time to do it, you should probably do it. It's just gonna make it easy. Oh yeah, the plastic thing. My point was, it's gonna be so hard to edit that from a library sound. Like what library has like heavy plastic with wind? Nobody has it. If you record it, you can actually make it sound exactly how it looks and the way you want it to sound. And it just makes it easier. It's not something put in paper, but you should do it if you get time. Yeah, there's some pretty cool libraries out there, like all the His and Roar stuff does amazing stuff. We got this Springs library for the air show, had these metal tunnels. The guy's crawling in. You can see how it's moving. So instead of putting like that classic sound, we got like that Spring library, which is amazing, and with pitching up and down sampling stuff, you can hear it like it's like breaking apart, but it's like a very original sound because it's not squeak. It's more like this thing is like hanging in a silo, and I don't know. You can, besides recording, you can also put some of the budget into buying libraries and stuff like that. For this New York one, I found this amazing. It's from Sonipedia. Anyways, they sell it in prosoundeffects.com. It's called New York City Ambisonics. So what they did is this guy went to New York with a quad setup. And I think it's quad. Yeah, quad setup. And recorded like all the neighborhoods not all of them, but the main neighborhoods in New York. And the library comes with like, I don't know, like maybe 50 different ambiances in stereo, and in this call they called B format. And when you buy the library, it comes with a plugin that what it does, it turns the quad recording into a 5.1 or 7.1 recording. And the plugin is basically, you get all the levels for each speaker channel. And plus you get like a little head that you tilt. So you can move. Like it works for scenes like that there's no like actual like dialogue and stuff like that, because if not you have to work a lot on like moving wall and stuff out of the center channel. But I think it's a pretty cool concept because you just play it. And if there's like a POV thing, you can play with it because it's like automatable, so you can just be like the little guy like following the actor kind of thing. And yeah, so that's the kind of stuff that if you do a little research when you start a project and you're like, oh, this thing is $200 or whatever, and this is how much I'm getting paid for this. This sounds amazing, I'll just get it, part of the budget kind of thing, but it's something that you're going to keep for future projects, and it's not like it's coming out of your pocket, and it's going to help the film as well. So yeah, other than recording, I would say like doing a good. If you're working on something very specific, look for libraries. There's a lot of stuff out there, and like not sound ideas and stuff like that, but like there's a lot of indies.
Is that dual mid side, the recordings? Because you said you can rotate it, yeah.
No, it's a different thing.
No.
Ambisonics is
Yeah.
It's its own format.
Oh, really?
It's called B format or something, right?
Yeah, and it uses, I believe, its own microphone. So it's a different thing. It needs to be decoded through these commands and decodes into whatever speaker set you have.
Well, it's pretty cool actually.
Yeah.
It's insane. But yeah, it's tricky to work with it. But that's the kind of stuff that you want to spend some time like looking for libraries and stuff like that.
What's the thing you keep adding to your library that you never use?
Fucking drones, man. Drones is always like you get it, like you're buying like the what's this website called? Soundmorph, and which are amazing websites. But Joe was like, oh, they have in discount like cinematic drones in space for $30. So like, oh, should I get it? It's like, it's only $30 and I'm already buying something. So you buy it, and they have like this library of drones. You cannot really use them because they're very specific. It's like cave drone. There's like drips in it. It's like, well, I don't want the drips in it. Like, or like synth drones and stuff like that. You might as well do them. And that's the kind of stuff that I keep getting, and I don't know why I'm still getting them. Yeah. There's stuff that it's so hard to get though, like, well, cartoon effects. That was, just worked on a cartoon, finished it last night. It was like this insane cartoon. And all the cartoon sounds in the library are the Hanna-Barbera sounds. That's insane. They sound like so lo-fi. And there's nothing new, so that's hard to get. Definitely want to spend some time recording if you get a show, like a cartoon, Looney Tunesy kind of thing. Yeah. It's very weird.
Did you buy any libraries for that?
No, not yet. The plan is, if it goes ahead, to record like a bunch of, and look for something. I guess Sonopedia has a new cartoon library for $300 or something, which sounds, it's basically the old sounds made new, just sound brighter, I guess. That could help. But it's, yeah, recording, it would be like a lot of recording. All right, so this was a very specific situation in which basically this director, producer had this, it's a fan film for YouTube from Tomb Raider. And they thought that they could do the sound themselves, and they got to the point that they couldn't, of course. And they basically called 2 days before they uploaded it, saying like, "Hey, we need this up. Can you do it?" Like, so it's.
Sorry, it was a fan-made thing. Why was there like was someone funding?
Yeah, it was like rich fans or something. I don't know. Yeah, it looks amazing actually to be a fan film. Yeah. So yeah, in this case, I just got hired to edit gunshots and weapons, and some of the. Since they don't have time for Foley, I ended up recording like a bunch of wilds, like gun movements and stuff, and edited them as sound effects. So all you hear is not Foley, it's actual. Well, I guess it's Foley. Edited as sound effects.
Recorded the what again?
Just like Foley gun sounds. Okay. Yeah, like chains and padlock chain. Those U bike locks, like a loose one. I can't remember anything else. It was a pretty fast thing that I just grabbed it and do it. And so yeah, we had like no time, and this was getting mixed by another person. So it's a tricky situation because it's like it has to be fast and it has to be for someone else. So I had no idea what to do. So I ended up doing like a halfway between my edit and the edit for someone else. So it sounds okay, but well, I'll just play it. It's just sound effects session, actually. Well, just guns and weapons. Let's go get her, okay? Hold on. Okay, so that's a little one. So, I was about to die. So on this part, like, these are only the bad guys shooting, right? It was her with the axe, which the idea was to make her whatever she's doing make it sound awesome, and the bad guys make them sound like dull and like lame, and, like they're not even aiming, because she would have died so fast in that situation. So yeah, so all the sound effects in that part were added more like not so cool. But then when she starts shooting, that's when I chose brighter gunshots and stuff like that, like more powerful, or sleeker kind of thing, not more powerful, but just like nicer, which is, I think, here. Where does he have a gun? These guys suck. Why would you hire them? Okay, sorry, that wasn't the part I wanted to play. Hold on. I'll just play it, whatever. It's not that long. Where the fuck? Just want to show you that little trick I was telling you about, that thunder thing. See this? Here you go. But yeah, it's very simple, but it sounds pretty cool. Yeah, so the main thing about this was to edit fast and for someone else. And it's like the worst case scenario. Yeah, I think it's worked at the end. You guys have any questions of how I edited this, or?
Yeah, can you break it down?
Yeah, it's a lot of guns.
I mean, not like the guns.
Yeah.
The kind of layers that you...
I guess the main two guns that I chose to use was like the small one, like the MP5 kind of thing, and then the M16, which sounds more like a cannon. Then the other one sounded more like a silencer kind of thing. I'll play the layers. So that's like basic when I'm editing machine guns. Is just adding that like the metal thing clashing next to the thing, like a really badly recorded gunshot, but it adds the punch, like the little thing that can play through the music kind of thing. Because the thing is that also I got the music for this, and it was like dun, 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 like, it's like nobody's gonna hear anything. So I had to choose like this type of sounds to make it like play through kind of thing. So that's like a basic, that little. It sounds very bad by itself, but it really works. And then there's this. Oh, which is the same thing. What I did, I even wanted it more. So what I did, I grabbed that, copied it, and took out the low end. Like, basically did like a huge thing on the high end. So that's how it sounds, really bad. And then there is the actual gun. Oh, so actually, I think I might have... Yeah, I think this one has bounced the actual mechanism because of that thing that I'm telling you. Like, when you have to save time, if I give them another track of just get trigger or mechanism, it's just going to be more tracks, and they're going to overwhelm and stuff like that. lasers. What is it? Okay, so and then it's always nice to add like a layer of just like little stuff, and then the mixer can actually grab this and like put them all over, and it sounds pretty cool. So that's for like that small machine gun. It's more like a sleeker kind of gun. What is this? Oh, so this is the M16, which sounds like I don't really like, but so that's the trigger or the thing. That's a over-the-top sound. This is like the main sound that makes it sound a bit dull, which is the thing I wanted. This is basically just that same track with a little high end. So I like doing this a lot, like just copying the same sound and tweaking it slightly in pitch and with an EQ, like a audio suite EQ, to add like more body, like even if you would do this. Clip gain is your friend. It's amazing. Then the mixer can just grab that and put it on the LFE. So it's like little things. I guess that's all that I could break down. Well, for single guns, yeah, this is a cool one. Other than that, thunder thing, it's cool to have like the little. That makes it sound so much better, I think. Oh. I guess. And that's same thing. That. Yeah, so it's, I guess the main breakdown is the little mechanism, the high cracky gunshot and the low mid kind of gunshot, yeah.
Are you using the same sound for the like enemies and then for the main character, the same song assets, or?
They're slightly different. Like for her, I when I want to change it, instead of changing the sound, what I do is like I add like a different layer kind of thing, like add an extra layer or something. Let me see if I can. Yeah, but no, it's definitely the same sound. It's just adding a little bit extra to it. Yeah. Usually I guess it would be different sounds, yeah. It's just, this one was insane. Oh, I think this part is pretty cool, hold on. It's fucking going crazy, man. And yeah, like I guess one of the things is like to change the environment the bullets are getting hit at. I don't know. Like for example, these instead of rocks now it's trees. But yes.
Have you found any tips and tricks in dealing with like heavy transient stuff and like hitting your head around too much? Like, it makes it sound really good, but it's like a gunshot. It's all happening like off at one side of transient, and then you're just clipping basically.
Like adding a little bit of release, you mean, or?
Like, how do you make it sound big without just smashing the head all the time?
Yeah, that's a tough one. The high end is always good. Like, if you wanted something to play through, just add like even like a face slap or something. Like stuff like that is what plays through. Without, I mean, that's the thing, man. Like, Brody always makes fun that he was doing this mix and this guy was like saying like, "Oh, you're all red, like all the meters are red." Like, yeah, but it's not. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, this thing was like red all the time, but they're gunshots. There's nothing wrong with clipping it, unless like if you start getting like digital clips, then you're fucked. But red is not bad. It's okay. If it's dialogued, it's really bad because it's gonna start distorting. But these things, it's actually good. They distort because they add that click. Like it's when you don't put a fade. It's like a pop, like, and that's the kind of sound that you like, kind of thing. And don't overdo it, and don't put it like, I don't know, on a lighter or something. But for guns and stuff like that, I guess high end is like the main. I would say the main thing to make it clip. And I wouldn't say like fuck the headroom, just like make them loud. And yeah, I guess just squeeze them like with a limiter, just put the output down and squish it, and it's gonna turn like into square. And that's not, there's nothing wrong about that, man. If it sounds good, it's good. Like that's the thing, like if it sounds okay, let's go for it. If it's not gonna create issues with like if you're doing a TV show and it's going over the broadcaster specs, yeah, don't do it. But if you're doing a film, you can do whatever you want, man. As long as it sounds good. Yeah. It's easier if you are like training your ear not to go red, I guess. But in this case, it's just loud, man. Like it's not like they're talking underneath the gunshots. Like, there's only gunshots. And the music is gonna be like on the sides, so like center channel, it's all yours. Yep. Any other questions?
And also that source from the same kind of library?
Yeah.
Did you actually went and recorded?
No, this case, it was just like blast through it. Like, oh, you mean the gun movements?
Both.
Yeah, the movements, it was like a really quick recording. I basically recorded like a 20-minute file of me just going like, and then grab the ones that I liked and start editing them as sound effects. For the guns,
It sounded like the Chuck Russell.
yeah, it's something like that, yeah. It's actually, I grabbed a lot of it from my VFS final, if that makes any. So like something from the VFS library, I guess. Yeah, I wasn't really looking into it's just like, whatever sounds good, I'll take it. It was done in like a couple of days. It was no sleep. At the end, I was deaf, tired, and angry.
What about her?
The axe? Yeah. I think the main part of it is that classic Hollywood edge punches, karate punches or something it's called. I love that thing. It's amazing. And yeah, just that's a cool question actually, because it's not a sword, and it's like hitting people. It's not like metal on metal kind of thing. So yeah, like instead of having like actual hits, you just grab the hit and do a little fade, like not like that one, but like that one, the U one. If you go command right, that's the one. It turns into that one, and it just sounds like a kind of it instead of the hit. And yeah, I guess it's just classic sword sounds for that, made like pitched up to make it sound like an axe kind of thing. And the impacts are just like a workers, like a pike on concrete or something. Pitched up. Like pitching is like the most useful tool for a sound effects editor. There's some really cool samplers. Contact is amazing. I use that every day. Iris from Isotope. That one is insane. It's one of my favorites. Yeah.
What about it do you like so much? It's one of the ones I've actually looked at a few times, but passed over.
Yeah. Iris, I love it because you can do like very weird stuff. Like it has this stuff from like a simple, like a drag and drop sampler. Just put it on a keyboard and like play with it, or with a mod wheel or pitch wheel or whatever. And also you can dig into it and use the weird, that spectral thing, and create very weird ambiances and sounds like that. And it's very easy to use. It's just like, doesn't even take too much of the computer. Contact is, I like it because it has so much stuff in it. Like you can map different stuff. The wave editor is pretty cool. It has several like time and pitch settings, I guess, that it worked pretty good. And also it's pretty easy to use. The thing I don't like is that you kind of have to, it takes too much time to open, it takes a lot of the computer kind of thing. But it's really straightforward. You just drag the sound and play with it. Yeah. And well, I think now with SoundMiner, you don't even need that anymore. Do you?
No.
I don't use SoundMiner.
Straight out.
Yeah, there you go. I should start using that. So just so you know, I use Workspace. So a lot of people give me shit about that. I really just like it. Yeah. Any other questions? All good? Cool. Well, thank you.